I hired a PI to find the husband I cheated on. What he said broke me. The private investigator called at 2:47 a.m. His voice was flat, professional, distant, the kind of voice that doesn't deliver good news. "Mrs. Holloway," he said, "we found him." Silence. Only my breath filled the space between us. Found him. Two words that carried both relief and dread. "Where?" I asked. He hesitated, just for a second, but I heard it, the pause that hides something you're not supposed to say. "I'll send you the address, you should see for yourself." Then he hung up. The room felt smaller after that, the ceiling lower, my own heartbeat too loud. I stared at the wall across from me, the framed photo of us smiling on our wedding day, his arm around me, my hand resting on his chest. He had been gone for 6 weeks, vanished without a word, without taking his phone, his car, or even his wallet. The police had called it voluntary disappearance, but I knew it wasn't, because I was the reason he left, because I had cheated, and he had found out. It started small, a message I shouldn't have answered, a dinner I shouldn't have agreed to, a night I should have ended before it began, but I didn't. I told myself it meant nothing, that it was just loneliness, that my husband's long hours and cold silences had pushed me there. It was easier to blame him. Until the day I saw the way he looked at me, that still, knowing stare. He didn't shout, didn't accuse, he just watched. And then he was gone. At first I thought he'd gone to clear his head. A few days, a week. But time kept stretching, and his absence began to feel deliberate. He left everything behind, his clothes, his ring, his life. And the silence he left behind, it wasn't empty, it was loud. It screamed guilt into every room of the house. I hired the investigator out of desperation, or maybe punishment. I needed to know where he was, what he was doing, if he hated me as much as I deserved. But somewhere deep down I also wanted him to come back, even if it was just to tell me I'd ruined everything. The investigator's name was Dalton, former detective. Sharp, mechanical eyes. He didn't care about my tears, only my money. He began with the usual, bank accounts, phone records, sightings. Every report came back the same. Nothing. No activity. No movement. Like my husband had erased himself. But then Dalton found something. A small cabin rental upstate, under a fake name but paid for in cash. The timing matched the week he disappeared. He showed me a grainy photo, a man in a dark jacket entering the cabin. The angle was poor, but I knew that posture, the shoulders slightly slouched, the hand always in the pocket. It was him. Dalton offered to go back, gather more evidence, but I wanted to go myself. So I followed him, 3 hours north, through winding roads and dead forests. The air turned colder the closer I got. When I arrived, the cabin was dark, empty-looking. I parked down the road and waited. Then, just before midnight, the door opened. He stepped out, alive, whole, but not alone. A woman followed him out, younger, smiling. Her hand brushed his arm like it belonged there. I watched from the car, breath fogging the window, every cell in my body collapsing. He hadn't just run from me. He had replaced me. Dalton's voice echoed in my head. "You should see for yourself." Now I understood the hesitation. I drove back in silence, every mile stretching like a confession. But I wasn't angry, not yet. Anger is too easy. What I felt was precision, the need to understand, to know. Because something about that scene didn't fit. The woman, the timing, the way he'd vanished too neatly. It wasn't running away, it was something else, something calculated. 2 days later, Dalton came to my house. He looked different, uneasy. He placed a file on the table, thicker than before. "I dug deeper," he said. "You might want to sit down." Inside were photos, documents, and something else. A deed. A property transfer dated 2 months ago. The signature was his. He had sold everything. Our house, our business shares, even my car, all transferred before he disappeared. To a trust, in my name. "What is this?" I whispered. Dalton leaned back, watching me closely. "He didn't run away from you. He left everything to you." I stared at the papers, disbelief curdling into dread. There was also a letter, handwritten, my name at the top. I unfolded it slowly. His handwriting, steady, deliberate. "You broke something that can't be fixed. I don't hate you for it. I just can't stay where lies live. So I left you everything. Money, property, the life we built. Consider it my final act of love. I hope it keeps you warm when the guilt doesn't." My hands shook, the words blurred. Dalton didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence between us was thick enough to drown in. He stood to leave, but paused at the door. "One more thing," he said quietly. "He's not with her anymore. She left last week. Said he never talked about anything except you." And then he was gone. I sat there until morning, staring at the letter. Every word was a mirror, showing me what I'd done, and what he'd done in return. He didn't punish me. He made me live with it. A week later, I drove back to that cabin, alone this time. The air was brittle, the world around me still. I didn't know if he'd be there, but I needed to see. Not to ask for forgiveness, just to see what was left of the man I'd destroyed. When I arrived, the lights were on. He opened the door before I could knock. For a moment, neither of us spoke. He looked different, thinner, older, eyes tired but calm. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. I wanted to say, "I'm sorry," but the words felt cheap, pathetic. Instead, I said the truth. "I hired someone to find you." He smiled faintly. "Of course you did." "I read your letter," I continued. "You didn't have to leave everything." "I did," he said, "because I didn't want anything left to remind me." That cut deeper than any shout could. He turned away, back into the cabin. The fire flickered behind him, casting long shadows across the room. I wanted to reach out, to touch his shoulder, to ask if there was still anything left of us. But he spoke before I could. "Do you still see him?" The question hit like a blade. "No," I whispered. He meant nothing. "Then neither did I," he said. And just like that, it was over. I left without another word, because there was nothing left to say. Back home, I sat at the same table where the investigator first called me. The letter lay in front of me again, creased, worn, unreadable through my tears. But this time, I didn't cry for him. I cried because I finally understood. He hadn't disappeared out of pain. He'd vanished to become the ghost that would haunt me forever. Every quiet room, every untouched bed, every morning without him, it was all part of his revenge. Not by anger, by absence. And he was right. It does keep me warm. The guilt. The money sits untouched. The house empty. Everything he left behind feels poisoned with meaning. I used to think betrayal was the end of love. Now I know. It's what remains when love dies. He broke me without ever lifting a hand, and the cruelest part is, I deserved it.